Hi guys, welcome back to Pypro vs YouTube channel where curiosity meets the code. Today we'll be discussing about how to create a chatbot using Python using Tkinter GUI window. But before that, we'll be checking the packages pre-installed in my system. So the first command that I'm going to execute in command prompt is pip list, where you can see all the packages with the versions. So it can give a look about what package is what version and update it accordingly. So you can take a look onto your packages. If not installed, please do install it. You can just Google how to install and there will be a command for that to execute in command prompt. Another command to check for all these is pip freeze, which gives a similar output where packages with the version will be mentioned. So let's get started with the code for the chatbot. So let me just open the code. So here you can see, as usual, I have imported Tkinter and also random. Tkinter is used for GUI. I guess all you are aware of that. And then import random. Why we are importing random here? To create random messages of the chatbot. So that's the reason we are using import random. We'll move on to the class of the chatbot. So as you can see, there is a class chatbot under which we have one of the functions as init, which is basically the Tkinter window, the specification of the Tkinter window, and then we have another function called definition send message. This is used to reply to whatever response that we have got, and another function to get the response from the user. And then we have the definition function of display message, and we have the last one to get tag, and then we are defining the main window, we are looping the window, and we have the run program. So let's see each function one by one. So going to the function of the first one, which is def init self master. So let's see what are the code for this and how this helps the program. So here, after initializing the class of chatbot app, the init method initializes the chatbot window with the chat with the title of chatbot. Okay, and then we are creating the chat history display uh, list by listing the box to display the chat history to set the width, height, font, and the position of the GUI layout. So we are setting the history where it should be and what is the height and width of the password. Moving on to the next here, we have code for create another list box called tags to display the tags corresponding to each message in the chat history. It also sets the width, height, font, and position in the GUI grid layout. And the next we have create user input entry where it creates an entry widget called as user input. And for the user input messages, it sets the width position below the chat history in the GUI grid layout. And later we create a send button. So the send that will, when clicked, triggers the send message method. It is positioned next to the user input field in the GUI grid layout. And then we are initializing a couple of chat responses like hi, hello, hi there, and a few of the things like you can call me chatbot. I am your so and so. Sorry, I didn't understand everything. Defaults we have initialized, and later we are initializing display welcome message. So the first message when you open the chatbot will be welcome to the chatbot. you can start chatting. So this calls the display message method to show the welcome message in the chat history when the application starts. Let's move on to the next function, which is send message. Now, what happened under the function of send message? Firstly, a method is defined as send message to handle sending user messages. It retrieves the message entered by the user from the user input field, and it clears the user input field after sending the message and displays the user message in the chat history. This is continuous updating process, and after that it calls the get response method to obtain a response from the chatbot based on the user's message and displays the response to the chat history. So what are the response that to be sent and where it should be displayed? Everything is given here, and which color, like everything is set here, and what are the kind of messages we sent and what the system is replying, everything will be displayed in the chat history. Let's move on to the next function, which is get responses. So what happens is responses, get responses. Firstly, defines the get response method to retrieve a response from the chatbot based on the user's message. It returns a random response from the predefined responses if the message matches one of the keys in the response dictionary. Otherwise, it returns a default response. What will be the default response? It's just the word of the default. So let's move on to the next function, which is display messages. Now, what happens in display messages? Firstly, it defines the display message method to display a message in the chat history with a specified color. So, what is the specified color here? I've given it as black. You can reduce to whatever you want to. It also insert a corresponding tag in the tags column. Also, there is a tag also established. So, let's move on to the next function, which is get tag. Now, what happens in the get tag method? It's a simple function. This method is to determine the tag associated with a message. It checks the start of the message string to identify the specific type of messages and assign a corresponding tag. So, whatever message we are printing, everything, it will identify the type of the tag and it will reply with the corresponding tag, what should be used. Next, let's define the main function. So here, the entire last part of the code, it defines the main function to create a Tkinter root window and initiates the chatbot app class. Then it starts a Tkinter event loop to display the GUI and handle user interaction. If the script is executed as the main program, it calls the main function. Now let's please see the output of the program. So as usual, I'm going to go where the folder is, where this entire folder has been saved. So I'm just copying the name of the file .py, open command prompt, and Python space file name .py. So as you can see, the first initial welcome message has been printed, and then there is a message box to send the message. So let me put hi, which is not defined in the function. So a default message of I'm not sure what do you mean is been printed. Now let me take something that I've given. I've given hello. So let's see what will be the response. The response from the chatbot will be hello. I've also given how are you. So let us also test how are you. And let's see what will be the message from the chatbot. So you can see the chatbot has replied, I am great. Thank you so much for watching. If you have learned something from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.